Even though Donald Trump didn't win a majority of the vote and more people voted against him than they did for him in 2024, that has not really stopped him from acting like he has been given some huge mandate by the American people. And I think one of the main byproducts of that we are seeing is that the MAGA base is becoming more and more emboldened. It's kind of like they're letting their masks slip a little bit and letting their authoritarian freak flags fly. So whether Donald Trump is rounding up protesters he doesn't like, or he's stripping away due process rights to kick people out of the country, MAGA seems to be here for it every step of the way. And because they don't feel a need to hide their true power level right now because Daddy Trump is in office, we're really starting to get a sense for some of their truly authoritarian ambitions. And one of the main proponents of this fascist takeover is somebody like Steve Bannon. And even though he is not currently in the White House serving with Donald Trump, he is very influential in the MAGA movement and can really articulate these ideas to a very rabid base. Here he is talking about how Trump will run and he will win a third term in office. If you guys do appreciate my work, please do remember to subscribe.
And President Trump, I'm a firm believer that President Trump will run and win again in 2028. So I've already endorsed President Trump. A man like this comes along once every century if we're lucky. We've got him now. He's on fire, and I'm a huge supporter. Want to see him again in 2028.
And obviously, anybody who doesn't like what you say but judges it as a function of a lack of intelligence doesn't know anything about you. I don't make that mistake. You're a smart guy. You know he's term limited. How do you think he gets another term?
We're working on it. I think we'll have a couple of alternatives. Let's say that.
So for those of you that don't know, presidents are limited to 2 terms in office. That is what the 22nd Amendment of our Constitution says, and that's how it is. The only way that Donald Trump would be able to legally run for a third term is if the Constitution was somehow amended, and that is a very, very heavy lift. You either have to go through the House and Congress and get 2/3 votes, I think it is, or you can send it to the states, which has to have 75% sign on to ratify the Constitution. So it is not an easy thing to do, but that has not stopped Congressman Andy Ogles from actually introducing a constitutional amendment that would allow Donald Trump to seek a third term. They are not hiding their intentions here, folks. We should know Donald Trump is a wannabe authoritarian, and he will take whatever route necessary for him to serve more time as the president. Here Steve Bannon is talking about how Trump would actually be allowed to serve a third term.
Well, so you're talking about litigating this issue, because I don't want people to listen to our interview and say Bannon's cooking up an insurrection. Bannon is cooking up. You know what I mean? I want people to get a straight take on where your head is. What are you suggesting?
Chris, as you know, I've had greater long shots than this. When we supported President Trump after the election, I realize you don't believe the election in 2020 was stolen. We do. We fervently believe that. When President Trump went back to Mar-a-Lago on January 20th, 2021, he was the longest of long shots to return to the White House. We said that day in our podcast and doubled down, having President Trump's back, that he was coming back not just to win the primary, he would win the White House, and we had to get organized.
So you'll notice he didn't answer the question. That's pretty concerning considering there was a January 6th where MAGA supporters stormed the Capitol so they could overturn a free and fair election. And Steve Bannon was a main proponent of the Stop the Steal movement. This is a guy who cheered it along every step of the way. He wants Donald Trump in office for as long as possible. And it's really not inspiring a whole lot of confidence at all that these guys won't carry out violence to make that happen, especially because we've already seen that they are willing to engage in violence. Donald Trump is ruling by fear now, the fear of violence. So there's no telling what is going to happen. We will just have to watch as things develop. But this should be concerning for each and every American, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or an independent. They then turned the conversation to, Project 2025. And as most of you know, Donald Trump tried to distance himself from Project 2025 because it was so politically toxic. But as I said, these people don't feel like they need to hide their true intentions anymore. And here is Steve Bannon just admitting that, of course, Project 2025 is what Donald Trump is currently operating under.
Also start working on all the policies, what's called Project 2025 or the America First Policy Institute, but all those different think tanks that started putting in the policies that you're seeing today in what we call flood the zone or days of thunder or however you want to describe it. But this is many years in the making. So we've had greater long shots than Trump 2028, and we've got a lot of stuff we're working on there. We're not prepared to talk about it publicly, but in a couple of months, I think we will be.
Again, I don't think this should come as a surprise to many of the people who watch this channel. We were warning over and over and over again about Project 2025 leading up to the 2024 election. But here Steve Bannon is just coming out and admitting it. Yeah, we got a whole bunch of agencies together. We got a whole bunch of far-right think tanks together. And they wrote Project 2025. So if Donald Trump eventually came back into office, well, then he would have a plan to run off. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. There is a site, I think, called Project 2025 Tracker. I would suggest everybody go check out because they are pretty much carrying out Project 2025 as quickly and as precisely as they possibly can. And because Russell Vought, the guy who architected Project 2025, he is serving as the Office of Management and Budget, there is no doubt in my mind that that is exactly what they are trying to do. Here, Steve Bannon is talking about, you know, Trump was given a mandate, and because of that, we love democracy.
Chris, we just won one of the biggest sweeping victories. We're in the middle of a 1932 type realignment if we can continue on and continue to have populist policies, populist nationalist policies. We have African American men coming to our side. We have Hispanics coming to our side. So no, we're huge believers in democracy because we know how to get votes out. We know how to get low propensity, low information voters out to support the president's policies. The anti-democratic forces, I think you're seeing them today in the courts. I mean, they're trying to obstruct a sitting president of the United States from fulfilling his executive mandate. So no, we're the big believers in democracy, and we show it because we won this unbelievable come from behind, not just in 16, as you know, but in 2024 when virtually everybody ruled Trump out.
Now, this is just super sinister. To claim that you are the lovers of democracy while Donald Trump is ignoring the courts, he's ripping away due process, it's just gross. But this is a talking point that we've started to hear more and more from MAGA. Ever since they won the popular vote in 2024, everybody's all in on it being a democracy. But the problem is, as we've already discussed, Donald Trump, more people voted against him than they did for him in the 2024 election. He only won a plurality of the vote. The majority of Americans are still not with this MAGA movement. That's why I really think that these people are going to overplay their hands. I do not think the support is there for this rabid MAGA movement like these people envision it. But to try to act like they're the ones who are for democracy when Donald Trump is going after his political enemies, he's usurping the power from Congress, it is just disingenuous and such a misdirect from the fascist takeover that is currently underway. They then move on to talk about how we are seeing a revolution right now because the government is being torn down.
But I just wanted to make it clear for people so that they can't paint you as, you know, suggesting revolution. Your analogy is to 32 and how FDR extended it. You know, the Constitution probably gets in the way.
Hang on. I firmly believe in the revolution you're seeing going on now, the revolution of common sense to deconstruct the administrative state. You're seeing that battle and that combat politically and legally in federal courts every second, every day. And if your audience, I know they love you, but they ought to start paying attention to also this greater arc of this massive fight that's going on for the direction of this republic.
Again, I think this comes down to these people misreading the situation. MAGA, like strong MAGA believers, maybe equates to 25 to 35%. And as we have seen in the polling, Donald Trump going through our federal agencies and trying to shut them down, shut off federal funding, all of that is super, super unpopular. So when you've got a president who is going in and tearing down the administrative state, it's not really as popular as you think it is. And I think they are misreading this situation, and they are just trying to brute force their way into a autocracy. I think Steve Bannon would like nothing more than have Donald Trump rule as some sort of king or something. And I think he makes that abundantly clear because here he is talking about the unitary executive theory.
So let me go back. This also gets back to this unitary theory of the executive that we've been, this idea we've been pushing, that President Trump is the chief executive officer of the government. He's commander in chief of the armed forces, also chief magistrate and chief law enforcement officer. And I realize that causes heads to blow up, like when he goes to the Justice Department on Friday. But in Elon Musk's case, the president has, and I think you're going to see coming forward, the ability to impound money. Our theory of the case is that the appropriations bill, which is law, is the ceiling, is the ceiling of what you can spend. And the president can make a unitary decision to not spend that much or to reprogram it. I understand that's going to be hotly contested in the courts and probably
controversial.
It would go to the Supreme Court.
But so you litigate it. And I'm fine with all of that.
Okay, so Steve Bannon is just full of shit here. What he is talking about is illegal. This thing about impoundment, that means that Donald Trump can just go ahead and take money that was already appropriated by Congress. We've already seen him try to do this. He is currently trying to do it even more. But I want you to pay attention to the thing that Steve Bannon said at the very top of this here. He said he's the chief executive, the chief magistrate, and the chief law enforcement officer. So is Steve Bannon suggesting that not only should Donald Trump have complete and total control over the purse strings, but he should also be the chief magistrate of the courts? I mean, this theory is something that the Republicans have been running for quite some time, but it is really starting to come to fruition under this new Trump administration. It is a disgusting theory, and it makes pretty much the president to be a king. And this is just not what our founders had in mind. As most of you probably know, we were explicitly trying to protect against one man ruling the entire country. That is what this country was founded on. So to think that Donald Trump would be given all of this unitary executive power is just completely antithetical to the Constitution, to the founders, to everything that this country is supposed to be. So as you can see here, these people, they're not hiding it anymore. They are showing us their cards. They are showing us their true ambitions. Even though we call this an authoritarian takeover, they call it democracy. They are trying to muddy the waters. But what we are currently seeing is a fascist takeover. They are tearing down our federal government, and they're going to message as though they are the fighters for democracy, because that is exactly what authoritarians do. So pay attention to the messaging. Make sure we are getting the message out there that this is what these people have in mind. And we just need to warn the American people that these people would like nothing more than to turn our country into another autocracy. Just absolutely downright, that is what they want to do. So I will leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. Like I said, we've got to build something here on the left that can adequately push back against this right-wing media ecosystem and all of this MAGA brain rot that is currently plaguing our society. So if you do like what I do here, please do remember to subscribe. If you want to see how the Trump administration is doubling down on their attacks against a federal judge, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.